Okay, so we've got a lot to cover today. We are doing the this is the Encanto slash or what they're calling Tropical Americas, and I'm gonna be just walking through, just for old time's sake, my own kind of my own version or vision of this, and it's quite a bit different. So, but yeah, we're this is what they have formally announced, and from what I've gathered from the media, it's definitely happening. So I'm just gonna give you my my little analysis, and if you guys want more of this, please subscribe and like, and let's continue. So this is supposed to be Tropical Americas, which is where the current Dinoland USA, and this is a map of it right here, is at Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World. So this is supposed to replace that map. And as you can see, it's similar to the movie. I haven't actually seen the whole movie, but from what we can see, they're kind of combining. This is supposed to be Coco, perhaps. I don't know if it's confirmed actually, but this is definitely Encanto, and then the Indiana Jones ride. So this is Coco, where I'm highlighting blue, and then this is the Encanto, and then they're just going to reskin the current dinosaur ride with a new Indiana Jones ride, which happens to be the same ride system that they use at Disneyland. And then this looks like it's going to be Restaurantosaurus, or a retheme of that, or it could be a different building. I don't know. Now, as you can see, yeah, it kind of looks like there's a lot of open space, and it looks kind of like an outlet mall, which is very I don't know. I don't know that we need that in a theme park, but almost like Disney Springs, almost. People just kind of walking around, and I don't know if it's a good use of space. And then there's a lot of green space here, which we have a lot of which they have, I should say, a lot of an Animal Kingdom. But let's just go with what I think. So we're gonna start off. So that's what their current plan is, and I'm just gonna give my idea. And so what I think is that I think that Encanto obviously is a great. It's a very colorful and a very colorful and sort of vibrant place, right? And it's definitely worth making something out of. And likewise, Coco, I don't know that fits as well because of demographic reasons. So, for example, in California, they have a larger Mexican American population than they would in Florida, and so Florida probably doesn't have, it's not going to resonate as much. Now, I don't know if that matters too much, but still, it's worth mentioning that there is a difference. And then, so yeah, but other than that, let's go ahead. I'm going to take you to my idea. So anyway, I was thinking, right, instead of putting Encanto there, what if we could put Encanto here in Epcot? And then my other idea was that this entire area would be this whole area that I'm writing out would be sort of a new dinoland, so to speak. And so that's what this whole video is about. So I'm going to go over it, and so yeah, now that you've seen what has been proposed, we're going to see. Now, from my understanding, it's it's pretty far along, but I don't know exactly when, right? Like, we don't know when it's supposed to happen. So, but this is just, like I said, it's just me just giving my ideas, just for old time's sake. I know a lot of people like dinosaur, so if you do like it, you might appreciate this. And so anyway, so my idea is basically Dinoland, a new Dinoland at the current Animal Kingdom, and then putting Encanto at Epcot. So let me explain how or why I think it works. So Encanto is actually sort of based on it's supposed to be in Colombia, and I believe that it's so tied to obviously the possibility of having a Colombia pavilion is something that I think is worth thinking about, because Encanto itself is actually based on sort of magical realism, which was kind of a literary movement that was started by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who was a Colombian writer. And so that whole genre, now I've noticed that Disney kind of doesn't want to call attention to that too much, and maybe it makes sense to not place an entire property associated with a person. Do you know what I mean? And I agree that you should separate. Like, I mean, I guess I wish we could be mature enough to separate the artist from the art. And that's how I approach everything, to be honest with you. Like, separate the artist from the art. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, who cares about the artist? Because a lot of times, let's just be honest, most artists, they may get into controversies or whatever. But in the case of Encanto, it does take place in Colombia. So what if they added a Colombia pavilion? And in that pavilion, there's some space right here. So here we're seeing the world showcase. It could go in here where I'm highlighting, or it could go here, kind of this area, or it could go here, right next to where Germany, and I guess this is China. And I guess, though, the biggest probably would be here. But you would obviously keep the Africa. There's a little Africa kind of thing here, which is pretty cool. And I definitely don't think they should get rid of that. So they should probably keep that. But anyway, if they did add it, you could have maybe a Colombia pavilion kind of alongside it. You would keep the little Africa, or this place here where they have a bunch of bongos. And people love playing that bongo. I haven't been there in a while, but, just memories. I'm assuming they're still there, right? And so, yeah, so imagine if Encanto, and it's kind of an easy thing to project. So this is kind of a bigger version of that. Like, you could have the entrance here, it could be small, kind of, I want it to be, see, you have to design it interestingly, because I think it would be nice if we had kind of little hills. And I know for safety reasons, they can't always have them, but it's good to have some areas that people can kind of explore in. But really, because it's a tight space, you really can't do much. So it's gonna feel like Morocco. You know how tight it is, and that it has these tight little spaces. And to me, that's appropriate, and better actually than this kind of tree-filled landscape. It feels like you're in a farm. I mean, it's not even realistic. It's way too big. You know what I mean? Like, if you've seen the pictures of Colombian streets, they're really tight and narrow. And so in the Epcot, actually, you'd probably get a better. So imagine these are tight and narrow stores. You could definitely have a Colombian restaurant. You could even bring in, like, because there's a lot of Venezuelans too. Venezuela's next to Colombia. You could have like Colombian/Venezuelan food. Like, I don't know, they could find a way to bring them together. And then, so having this, right, the Colombia Pavilion, it's pretty big. If you look at, okay, so if you look at it, it's a pretty big attraction from the back. Like, you can see in this picture that's supposed to be the Encanto attraction, and you can see how big, the backstage area is, right? Because these attractions, they take up a lot of space. So if we could have the Encanto attraction, it could be an e-ticket attraction, right? Like, I've thought of, like, what would an Encanto attraction look like? I don't think I need to, like, explain, because, or, I mean, I don't think, obviously, I don't need to go into details, because it's just so evocative. Like, it's so full of imagery that it doesn't even matter what you do, as long as they do something colorful. But I was thinking, if, like, best case scenario, right, which would be like an e-ticket attraction, like if they made it like Rise of the Resistance, or like Mickey's Runaway Railway, just have it be kind of these moving carts, the same way, but it would be very big. And I don't know you can definitely fit it if they expand it, if they went sort of beyond this park, but there's not a lot of space, but it's possible, I think. So if they wanted to do kind of a Rise of Resistance, but of course I would modify it, because the Rise of Resistance attraction, it's not very, I don't know, it's a new attraction, and I feel like it's always breaking down from what I hear. And so the reliability, I don't know, they might need to make a kind of a simpler track, or kind of a modified version of that, but that would work. But you could also have an attraction that is an Omnimover or anything else. But anyway, with the Encanto attraction, so this would be kind of a simple, I've basically just taken this picture and just kind of scrunched it up together so that we have this Epcot. And this is probably what the Colombia Pavilion could look like, right? And you could have you could have a restaurant, you could have it would be a tight spot, but you would be able to enter and just go straight into the Encanto attraction at Epcot. And it fits. I mean, it kind of is similar to how Ratatouille is being implemented in France. So yeah, I think it works. I think that would be a cool idea, right? Like, and I think it works, and it does the same. It's basically the same attraction that they would have built here, but in a much tighter spot. And to me, like here, there's just so much. Look at how much open space there is, right? There's trees. There's this outlet-looking thing. Like, all of this, it's not really necessary, and it's all just for 3 rides. Like, think about how many rides you could fit in Fantasyland at Disneyland, right? For the same real estate. And I don't see why they wouldn't pursue sort of a similar strategy here, because they need, it just seems like there's a lot of people just walking around, and a lot of gardens, which they have plenty of at Animal Kingdom already. So, but anyway, this kind of is a model that they showed. So I guess this looks a little different from that. Looks a lot simpler. But again, a lot of open space, and I don't know, I guess people are just waiting around for the rides. But yeah, so that's this is a model of a picture of one of the models of the new area of what they're proposing. Now, my idea is if this would be kind of an example of what the Epcot could look like. You would just walk in and then the ride would be right there. So now let's go back to dinosaur. So now that we got the Encanto out of the way, and Coco, I don't think Coco, let me address Coco. Coco probably doesn't need to be. Like I said, for demographic reasons, it doesn't have quite the appeal, I guess, as it would in California. Right? In California, there's a large Mexican-American population, but in Florida, there really isn't, there aren't a lot of Mexicans, not as much as in California. So the Coco probably doesn't resonate the same way. And that's another reason why I think the Encanto works well at Epcot, because I think there would be, there are Colombians and Venezuelans in Florida, so that, it would be different. So, it kind of appeals to the demographic a little better. Now, okay, so this is where I'm a little excited, because we get to talk about, the dinosaur, right? And what do we do with dinosaur? So here's dinosaur, and it's a big land. And what they did was, and to me, if you look at the history, so this is all dinoland, what they call dinoland USA. And in dinoland USA, originally it was supposed to be, originally they had the ride, the movie Dinosaur came out, I think it was 1999 or 2000. And that movie, the current dinosaur ride was a tie-in for that movie. And then they built kind of this land. They kind of ran out of money, I think. And then it's kind of an unfinished land. Like even the dinosaur ride itself, to me, it feels unfinished. And this whole area, they built a kind of a carnival area. And I mean, it works as a land, right? They try to cobble it up together. But the truth is, it always felt kind of unfinished, right? It's not quite as, it doesn't have, it's kind of self-aware. And it's supposed to be kind of tongue-in-cheek. And it worked. And obviously, they kept it for decades, right? I mean, it's still there, even though they've already torn down some rides. So they're definitely taking it out. But so my idea is, what if we could take Dinoland USA and turn it into the dinosaur land that it was meant to be? So what I mean by that is, what if we could take, so here's Dinoland USA, here's the entrance to the park, and then here's Avatar Land. Let me write that down, Avatar. Okay, so the Avatar Land is kind of right here. Now imagine if we were able to take, so I'm going to use these both as references, because if we were able to take Dinosaur Land and make kind of an analog to Avatar. So do you see how detailed Avatar is, right? Avatar, it's got big rides, it's beautiful, even though, I mean, I think even Avatar could be better, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of open space where people, it's basically just a waiting ground, like a watering hole or something, like just a place where people just, watering hole as in animals, where animals just drink water, but like it's a place where people just wait. So that could be improved too. But let's just focus on the idea that Avatar is kind of the future place, right? It's a future world. At least it's supposed to be futuristic, right? The Avatar world takes place in it's sci-fi. If you've seen the Avatar movie, it's the humans, there are humans in it, and it takes place in the future. There's technology. But what if we could contrast that with the prehistoric? And so if you look at this map, you would have the Avatar to the left, and then the dinosaurs to the right. So what if we could have, now I know that the writing is not, or my drawings aren't that good, but just try to picture this with me. I'm going to try to use words to explain what I'm saying, to paint a picture. Because imagine if the dinosaur world was just as elaborate as the Avatar world. And the Avatar world represents the future, but the dinosaur world represents the past. And so imagine if you could have kind of the contrast between future and past, right? Alien versus, ancient animal Earth, basically. Like Alien versus Earth. And it's a celebration, because really dinosaurs is a celebration of animals, of prehistoric animals. And imagine, and as we're going to see, as I'm going to show you, there are a lot of attractions that I've conceptualized, and then you're going to see just how this all fits together, and really how it fits Animal Kingdom all together, because Animal Kingdom is about, the real animals and in Africa. So here, let me make, there's Africa, there's Asia, right? So there's the Animal Kingdom, and in the back, keep in mind that the animals are they're in the back, right? So they kind of have to go to sleep. And so wouldn't it be a good idea if the front of the park, if Animal Kingdom became a nighttime park, it became a full day park? Because Animal Kingdom today is not currently, it's not a full day park. You can't spend, like imagine if you could open the park at 9 or I think it opens at 8 sometimes. I don't know. But if you could open it at 9 and then it stayed open till midnight. Now, obviously, where the animals are, which is the top part, you can't have animals there. Or you can't have humans. You can't disturb the animals' sleep. They want to keep it. So they have to close down the top part of Animal Kingdom. They have to close down Africa and Asia. But what if they were able to create a land that doesn't have animals, right? So Avatar doesn't have animals, and Dinosaur doesn't have animals either. So if we, at least not real animals, right? They're animatronics, or they're, maquettes, or just statues. But imagine if Dinosaur Land were able to, if it became a full day park, it could stay open till midnight. If people could, if there were stuff to do and places to hang out. So Dino Land is, so here's my idea. So if we take, so let me start drawing things up. So this is the current Dino Land USA, right? So we would probably call it just Dino Land by itself. And it would still, okay, so if you've been on the dinosaur ride, which I'm marking up, they have kind of this whole storyline, and we can continue to use that storyline that Dinosaur has, because in the storyline, it's kind of, they have the Dino Institute. And the Dino Institute is basically like a bunch of people that just study dinosaurs for some reason. Now, let's be honest, it's not realistic, right? It's kind of silly. Like they're not, it's like supposed to be this big enterprise, but are they really making money? Like how are they making money, right? I have no idea. It's kind of funny, but it seems to be like a research project. But, I feel like no research project would be so, endowed with money, because it feels like they're doing something like real business, like but they're really not. I mean, how are they making money? I don't know. Is that explained? But anyway, it's still a great, it's obviously tongue in cheek. It's kind of funny, but it still works, I feel. And it provides them an opportunity to, it's basically an excuse for them to use, for them to be there, right? Because how else are we supposed to go back in time, right? So so that's where the whole Dino Institute storyline plays really well. And I would say that, the Dino Institute would continue. So in this concept of Dino Land, the Dino Institute would continue to be it would continue to be about the Dino Institute, because it gives us an excuse so that you could have stores, you could have restaurants. It's all kind of sponsored by Dino Institute. Now, let's talk about Dino Land for a minute. What is Dino Land? My concept of Dino Land, the new Dino Land. I don't know if, maybe I should call it something else, like Dinosaur World, because you guys might get confused if I call it Dino Land. You might think that I'm talking about Dino Land, the current Dino Land. So maybe let's just call this Dinosaur World. So how about that? Dinosaur World. I'm going to call it Dinosaur World for now. But basically, let me explain what it is. And it's quite a bit. So Dinosaur World would be, I'm going to be introducing a lot of new concepts that are not currently done, but I think would be a good direction to go in, and I think would be fun. Now, the only thing is, possibly, the thrill rides. Like I understand a lot of people, they do want their thrills, so that has to be included as well. But anyway, let me run through all of the different attractions that my concept would have. So we've already talked about, this is the Dino Institute. This is the current dinosaur attraction. Okay. This is the current dinosaur attraction. Now, right here, if let me go through the land first. Let me describe the land. So here is a picture of the land. Okay, it's, as you can see here, it's a volcano. So my land would have, well, I'll just draw it up here. Okay, so you walk in, there's gonna be two entrances. I'm gonna make a bridge that connects from here to the Discovery place or whatever this is, so that you can go directly from here to Avatar. And also so they can close off Discovery Island at night, because that's where the animals are. So, but here's the thing. The Dino Land will be, it's going to have, let me set the stage. It is not going to have, it's going to be kind of a desert or a rocky place, almost like, because to me, let's just be honest, when you think about, first of all, for some reason, when we think of Earth, right, Earth is not, it's not just trees, right? I don't know why when it comes to Earth, people always associate it with trees, because actually in most planets, and actually most for most of Earth's history, there were no plants. Do you know what I mean? And there are many places in Earth that are barren, that are mountainous, that are like deserts, and there's a beauty to that as well. And to me, I don't see why we can't have a land that is bereft of trees. And so this Dinoland, I want to focus more on, and the reason why, a big part of it is just immersion. Like you will be stepping into the world of the dinosaurs. And so we're gonna, try to recreate the dinosaur world. And so because the plants that they have, they don't really exist, right? I want it to take place in a desert / rocky place. Maybe rocky is the better way to describe it. And a rocky place with lots of hills, mountains, a mountainous area. So imagine mountains right here. And then the culmination of it is one big volcano, kind of, so a volcano right here. Okay, so it's going to be mountainous, no trees, and you'll be able to walk around. And there will be places to walk around, and there will be many attractions with dinosaurs. And of course, you'll be able to see dinosaurs kind of just roaming around. And on the outside, they're not going to be animatronics. They're not going to be moving because obviously it rains outside. And the other thing too, of course, is that if there's not going to be a lot of trees, or there's going to be no trees in this land, you need a good drainage system, right? So, because it rains a lot in Florida, so there needs to be good drainage systems. It needs to be designed in such a way that it doesn't flood, so that there's plenty of, the runoff water can go someplace. And all of that needs to be designed. Likewise, if it's hilly, I want to add a lot of hiking, right? Because it's mountainous, I want to actually build an actual mountain that people can explore, and not just mountain, because there's that big volcano, right? But there's actual hills, and that you can explore dinosaurs, that you can see. And from the outside, imagine you're walking around and you're seeing just dinosaurs. These big sort of, it can be more like statues, believe it or not, but they can look realistic. But they're going to be statues because, having animatronics in the rain or outside exposed to the elements, it's just not a good idea. So the dinosaurs will be out. The dinosaurs that are outside are going to be, they're going to be more like statues. So anyway, that's a little bit of a description, but let's go through the attractions, right? So there's, so the first attraction, it's already built, Dinosaur Land. I would keep Dinosaur Land. Oh yeah, let's talk about, I guess we should talk about Indiana Jones for a minute. I would move the Indiana Jones. Like, I definitely have concepts for an Indiana Jones ride, but not an Animal Kingdom, and not a replica of, or I should say, not a rehash of the Indiana Jones adventure at Disneyland. Like, I would want something different and in a different park. The dinosaur, and I should also probably, let me go on a tangent here and explain the difference between dinosaur versus Indiana Jones adventure at Disneyland. And, from my understanding, basically they're the same ride, but they're slightly different, of course, but it uses the same ride mechanism. And in my view, and I've, from what I've gathered, obviously different people have different opinions on this, but, a lot of people have expressed the same sentiment, which is that I prefer the dinosaur over Indiana Jones Adventure because of the storyline and because of the dinosaurs. And so, since we're talking about Dinosaur the ride now, like, I actually think it's better, to be honest with you. I think Dinosaur is better than Indiana Jones Adventure, And so even though I know Disney's like, oh, well, maybe we should replace it because I guess the assumption is that maybe it's better or something. And I disagree. I think the reason why I like Dinosaur better is because of the storyline. I like the sort of, somewhat realistic, I love the people. Like, if you go to the dinosaur ride, you'll see, they have human actors, and they kind of, it's really cheesy. It feels like a made for TV, kind of for young people. The acting is a little cheesy. It's a little fun. It's not realistic, but it takes itself seriously. It feels like a Bill Nye episode. If you've seen Bill Nye the Science Guy, it feels like that. Where the actors are kind of hokey, they're kind of friendly, but at the same time, and I think it works, believe it or not. Like, I believe it. There's something about that I think is more appealing than Indiana Jones, which, Indiana Jones, it's not really, it's just weird when they take an IP, what we call IP or intellectual property, like when they take a character from a cartoon, right? And they kind of just slap them into a world, they slap them into an attraction, right? And then now all of a sudden Indiana Jones is like talking to you while you're in a car. And it's just weird because there's something weird about that because you don't believe it, because it's a movie character. And I feel like the real Indiana Jones would never actually do that. Like, there's something, it almost breaks the fourth wall. And somehow when it happens in an attraction, I think it's a little weird. I think it just doesn't make sense. Whenever a lot of these, one of the issues I feel with these intellectual property, these IP rides like Indiana Jones Adventure, is that it puts the movie characters kind of talking to you, because there are moments where Indiana Jones, kind of talks to you, breaks the fourth wall. But then like the whole idea, it doesn't make sense. Like, why are you in the temple? It doesn't feel like a temple. And that's the other thing too. Like I've always felt like Indiana Jones Adventure, and I guess you could say Dinosaur too. There's something about the ride vehicles, they don't feel like the spaces are too big, I feel. And even though it feels like a stage show, it doesn't feel realistic, especially Indiana Jones Adventure. Now it is cool, but it doesn't feel like a temple. If I feel like it doesn't feel like a temple that Indiana Jones would actually go in. It doesn't feel like the temple in a movie, And then in the end, of course, they use kind of the rolling ball, right? I don't know, is there an official word for that? And when they do that, they're kind of, like it's cool in the first movie, right? That's in Raiders of the Lost Ark. But when you see it, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a fan of them reusing that in the ride. It kind of, it's a good ride, but it just turns into this big hodgepodge of, Indiana Jones, the kind of, different kind of, things that happen in a movie. And so anyway, I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't, even though the Indiana Jones Adventure is actually one of the best rides probably Disney has ever made. Like I would say, perhaps you could argue with all the special effects that they have, it might be the best ride. So they definitely put a lot of care and attention to it. So it's definitely a great ride. So I'm not going to say it's a bad ride, but I still love the dinosaur ride. There's just something, I think it's better. I like the dinosaur ride better. I think now the only problem is, okay, so I'm about to address the dinosaur right now. So the only problem is that it's just unfinished. And I feel like it's always been unfinished. And so, all right, so let's talk about my concept. So in my concept, the dinosaur ride would be redone, but actually you don't have to redo it. It's already done. Just make the dinosaurs look better. And there's some dinosaurs, there's like floating dinosaur heads, like they haven't even finished it's pretty cheap. I don't know, it just feels cheap and it's very dark inside. And the reason why it's dark is because there's nothing there, and if they could just flesh it out, the dinosaur ride would be awesome. It would be awesome. Like if they fleshed it out, if they took away all that darkness and added, trees, that's a perfect place to add, not real trees, of course, fake trees, right? Like plastic trees, caves, rock work, all of that, so that there's always something to see. Instead of, the dark, it's really dark in there right now. And I haven't been on it lately, but it's a ride that is very dark, very bumpy, and it's dark because they don't have anything. They're being cheap actually. So my concept would be to just flesh it out, add more foliage, fake foliage, finish the dinosaurs so that they are complete and they're not just like disembodied heads kind of floating around. But other than that, the ride is great, and I love like I said, I prefer it over Indiana Jones Adventure, even though obviously the care and attention put in the Indiana Jones Adventure is spectacular. One of the best, probably one of the best rides ever made. I would go so far as to say. But anyway, dinosaur. So we have dinosaur. Not much to say. Keep it the same. It's really good. I love, like I said, and you could keep those same characters. I'm pretty sure they could use AI to, the same like actors, like the scientist and the guy. You could have that person narrating throughout the entire dinosaur world. I'm going to call this dinosaur world now. So this dinosaur world concept, we're going to have, so how cool would it be to be able to use those characters in different scenarios? So now the next thing I want to do is the Dino Institute Museum. So this is my second idea. Dinosaur Institute Museum would go right there. Let me get rid of some of these blue things. Okay, so the Dino Institute Museum would go right alongside it. And now it would be somewhere here. Now, I know this might sound weird. It might have to go in the back here too. Why do I want a museum? I really believe that, especially for the younger audience, how awesome would it be to have dinosaurs? We don't have to have, I understand that it's very expensive to buy dinosaur pieces. But what if you could have, it doesn't have to be real dinosaur bones. It can just be a fake dinosaur bone, basically. But imagine if you could have an entire room, an entire big building, and I mean big, because the current dinosaur ride, if you go to the queue, they actually do have kind of a museum. It feels like you're walking into a museum. And I would want that, but maybe 5 times bigger. And just alongside the ride, and just a place where people can just hang out, where young people can walk in with families, and they could walk in and see like all kinds of dinosaurs, not just one dinosaur, multiple dinosaurs. Stegosaurus, a big Brontosaurus, Carnotaur, whatever they have, and just kind of bones, but also real, looking, within that can be informative. And I know, I guess they don't really like it. This is probably perhaps the least popular place, because I guess a lot of people, maybe when they go to theme parks, they don't want to learn, and maybe that's why they've shied away from that. But if they added a museum to it, it would be. I think it would work, and imagine if you could have the dinosaurs moving, but this would be more of an informative. It's not going to be a realistic, obviously. It's more like an information. So that's 2 attractions there, dinosaur and dinosaur museum. Dinosaur museum might be boring for some. Now the next one, so I'm going to put it right here. The next attraction would be a small attraction, okay, which would be the, what I call dinosaur close-up 360. So you know how in Epcot they have these 360 degrees, these 360 degrees kind of like theater? Well, what if they had a theater like that with dinosaurs, right? So and maybe you could have like, and I just talked about disembodied dinosaur heads, but what if they had disembodied dinosaur heads coming out and just kind of greeting you? And here's like a little picture of that I kind of drew up. And I thought this might be an interesting way. So you would be, the audience would be kind of standing in these elevated areas. And let me put this, these elevated areas, and then dinosaurs would kind of pop up, and it would be a close encounter. And I feel like, you know how in a lot of like zoos, or not zoos, but in a lot of like, sometimes there's just something about having something close up, coming straight. And this is where you could have like a very detailed animatronic, or, you know, and it could be, you know, it could walk up to you, it could, you could feel, you could sense it, you could hear the growl, you could be really up close to a Tyrannosaurus, or really up close to, and imagine if they could, like, you know, if the audience, you know, we're kind of just standing there, it's a big circle, it's not a big theater, you know, it's kind of this is kind of a smaller ride, it doesn't move, it's just like a 360, you know, one of those 360 theaters in Epcot. But imagine if you had these dinosaurs and they just are straight up right in front of you. You know, you could have a little movie maybe, but then these dinosaurs kind of pop up, and it's just a fun show. I think, especially young people, this would be so, like, it would be kind of scary, believe it or not. Even though they're not going to move, this is not a scary ride. They're just going to walk up to you. But just having it walk up to you can be pretty unnerving, especially if it's big. And so I think that's where a little bit of the thrill might come from. And they could find a way to make this a little exciting, I guess. But imagine, you know, I don't know, there's just something about, I mean, you know how they have those safari where you can have like the giraffe? I mean, this is really inspired by those safari places where they have giraffes that like stick their neck inside, and, you know, now obviously you're not going to be touching these things, but I mean, just having it up close, I think, can be an experience of its own, and I think people would like it. And it's not something that's meant to be crowded or anything, but yeah, it's something that I think it could work. So I like that idea. Now, okay, so the next idea, so that would go there, the 360. The next idea I have is, let's go through this. All right, so let's get to the volcano. So I talked about the volcano, right? There's going to be a big volcano. This is going to be the most notable thing. And the volcano, so if you can imagine, it's going to be it's going to be 200 feet tall. It's going to be like the Mount Everest, right? But it's going to be a volcano. We need a volcano, right? We don't have a volcano. Well, they kind of have a volcano at Disney Springs, but this volcano is going to be bigger. And I really think the fire, so imagine if the storyline would be the Dino Institute, we're back in time. As soon as you walk into the gates, right, of DinoWorld, okay, we're calling this DinoWorld. As soon as you walk into the gates of DinoWorld, you are being transported back in time. And then the Dino Institute has made kind of a research center into the volcano, you know, and maybe a research, and so you would see the same characters from the dinosaur ride. They would be here in the volcano, and in the volcano we would have these pods, what I call pods, but really it's going to be a fast-moving, and I guess you could make this kind of a thrilling attraction, but I don't want it to be a roller coaster. I want it to be more like the Tomorrowland People Mover that they have at, that they had at Disneyland, and that they currently have at Magic Kingdom. The kind of like the People Mover. If we had something like that, imagine if the Dino Institute had a People Mover. It's you know, there's movement. There's movement. It's not a roller coaster. And the reason why I don't want a roller coaster is because I want people to see the details. And this is a great opportunity to go into, and basically it's like I guess the excuse could be that, you know, maybe they're mining, they're trying to find something for the volcanoes, or maybe it's a mine train, or I don't know. But I don't want it to be a fast-moving train. I want it to be I want it to be like the People Mover, basically. And what you do is you go into the volcano, and we get to see the magma, we see the fire plumes, we see, you know, I got some pictures here. So this is the volcano. These are the pods, right? The blue things here are the pods. And so you can see the fire right there, right? That's kind of, you know, the excitement will be, I think it's important because I want it to be a long ride that, you know, where you get to really go into a volcano. Like, how cool would that be? And you go up and down. It would be cool. I don't know if the People Mover can go up and down, but it would be nice if it could, because, but even if it couldn't, it would still be cool to be able to tour a volcano, right? Like to be able to, and you go inside the volcano, and there's this big magma, there's this lava chamber, and you're just basically going around through twists and turns. It's a long ride. It can be a high capacity ride. This is a theme. This is something that I'm going to harp in a lot on. having these high capacity rides. This is a still from Lord of the Rings, but it gets my point across, right? The fire, and then this is I think this is Star Wars. Like I got another still of fire. Like just imagine you're in this volcano, inside the volcano, and this is an indoor attraction, and it's just like a people mover inside the volcano. It's a long ride. It's important that it be long so that people feel like it's special, like they're going. This is an immersive experience, and it also is an attraction that can, by having long trains that are, you could have super long trains. It can be a high capacity attraction, which is what we want. I don't want people waiting in line. I want people enjoying as many attractions as they can. So that's the volcano concept. Now, and it's going to be like the Dino Institute. It'll have its own. I hope I've been able to give a picture of that. So now what else can we have? So here's the volcano. Let me draw the volcano. Right, so here's the volcano. Now what if on top of the volcano we had pterosaurs flying around? So you know how at Magic Kingdom, right, or at Disneyland, they have the Aladdin, right, swirling ride. They had the Triceratops, that's a weird ride. Like, why were Triceratops flying? I don't know. They had the Triceratops spin in Animal Kingdom before. But, like, the thing is, what if we had sort of like a Dumbo ride, 200 feet high, and you're riding on a pterosaur? And that's a ride. That's definitely a thrill ride. And how cool would that be? And that's my idea. So on top of, so I want you to pay attention how I'm adding attractions on top of attractions. This is a very complex building, actually. It's a complex engineering feat, because we're essentially putting an attraction, and what I think is an e-ticket attraction, right? Going into a roller coaster, it's not a roller coaster. The reason why I don't want a roller coaster is because it's too fast and the capacity is too low. And I feel like there's something, I should probably say why I don't want a roller coaster. You could add a roller coaster maybe, but it's a little nonsensical, right? When it comes to the Dino Institute. But also the bigger reason is because it's just too fast. Roller coasters, they're good, but here I want people to really experience the volcano, and with the roller coaster, you're going too fast. You don't appreciate anything. You don't feel anything. And so I that's why I said no to the roller coaster. But let's go back to the volcano. So here's the volcano ride, right? The entrance of the volcano ride would be here. Inside the volcano would be kind of the people mover attraction. That's long, high capacity. Okay, that's what we should be going for. But on the outside, on top of the volcano, there's an elevator you can take, and it takes you up to the flying, what I call pterosaur flight. So it's basically you're flying on a pterodactyl. A pterodactyl is that dinosaur that flies. I don't know if I can draw it, but it's a dinosaur that flies. Well, you can get in on it, and you're going to be flying in the sky, and I want it to be as high capacity, obviously, as it can be. And how cool would it look to have a bunch of pterosaurs just flying? You're looking at this big 200 feet tall volcano, and there's like things just flying around. Like, how awesome would that be, right? And it's kind of scary, because this would be the tallest, right? When you go to Animal Kingdom or to Magic Kingdom, right? They currently have the Aladdin, which is pretty cool because of the ambience, right? The Aladdin, it has that to offer. So the reason, and then the what are the other ones? The Dumbo one, okay? Which, the Dumbo one, it's okay, I guess. I won't talk about Dumbo this time, but yeah, the Dumbo ride, again, same. It spins, but they each offer something different. But the Astro Orbiter, right? The Astro Orbiter is probably what's most similar to this. But the Astro Orbiter, you're flying up in Tomorrowland with the planets, and you can see the planets. So and it's higher up, right? You have to take an elevator to go up it. So there's a reason to go on it, so to speak, because it's different. Well, in this case, this is going to be even taller, a lot taller than the Astro Orbiter, and you're going to be on top of a volcano, and you're going to get a nice, view of Dinosaur World, and you're going to get the nice view of the Mount Everest, and it's going to, it would be a little scary, but I think it's great. It's like, that's a perfect example of how you can turn an attraction idea and make it interesting. So, and then the other thing too, of course, you'd probably need harnesses, because, for safety reasons, people need to be strapped in if you're going to be going that high up. But yeah, it would definitely be an amazing experience. So there's the pterosaur attraction. It's going to be on top of this. All right. So now the next idea I have, and this is something that, I want an omni mover, similar to Spaceship Earth. What if we could have, now, I talked about how there are no trees, right? I talked about that this takes place in a rocky, sort of prehistoric Earth, right? And that fits with the volcano theme as well, right? Because a volcano, there's not forests around active volcanoes, right? And with this volcano, like, we could have like lava flowing, like, you can just do so much cool stuff with the lava. So imagine if it's a volcano that's actually spewing lava. Like, that's what I want, right? So if, in those cases, there aren't really trees. But what if, so why aren't there trees? One of the reasons why I don't think Dinosaur World should have trees is because we can't really recreate the plants, right? Like, they don't exist anymore. So there are prehistoric plants. The Dinosaur World had different plants that just don't exist anymore. So what if we had a Spaceship Earth? This is how I would describe it. It's going to be called Age of Dinosaur. It's going to be right next to alongside, you should say. I mean, it's gonna be a big building, but it'll be alongside it, the volcano, which is it'll be like Spaceship Earth. It'll be like an omnimover, and in that omnimover, imagine if it was. So let me paint the picture. If you are in a ride, you're going in an omnimover. Omnimovers are great because they are ultra high capacity, right? High capacity, that's what you want. So now we have 2 high capacity attractions, right? The Dino Volcano Pods that I just talked about, that's like a people mover, and then this one right here. And this is basically, I guess if you want to call it, it's like Spaceship Earth, but with dinosaurs. So you're going to see, and this is a perfect place to have the animatronics, right? To have moving dinosaurs. Walt Disney created the diorama. Like that was one of the, like this actually fits into the history of Walt Disney, because Walt Disney himself, he loved the dinosaurs. Like he created it. He literally created you could still see the diorama if you go to the Disneyland Railroad. When you go into Tomorrowland, you can see these dinosaurs. Walt Disney built that. And Walt Disney made, during the, they would have the World's Fair, and he was fascinated by it. And in fact, that was the inspiration for like the pirates. And, that was when they created a whole caveman series, which by the way, that's not realistic. But, maybe as a tribute to Walt, that could be included as well. But my idea would be to have kind of a Spaceship Earth-like attraction that is immersive, that has, so here, let me paint the picture. It's not going to have real plants. It's going to have fake plastic plants, but it'll be plants that existed in dinosaur, So this is where we could have like an entire forest. You're completely immersed in dinosaurs. You can have an entire forest. You can have an entire, you can have dinosaurs sort of moving, electronics. You could have insects, giant insects that, it just wouldn't be possible to recreate this any other way. You could even have like a little, because Walt, he kind of, I mean, you could have cave people too, I guess, if you wanted to do a homage to Walt Disney, but it's not realistic, obviously, so that might not fit, but, maybe, I don't know, for fun, you could add something like that. But the point is, you're going to be going up and down. It's an omnimover. The great thing about Spaceship Earth is that it goes up and down. It's a slow ride, but it's a ride that has to be full of gags and funny things and memorable scenes that people are going to want to experience over and over again. People want to feel the light, the darkness, the cold, the heat. You could do all kinds of weird stuff in a contained environment like this. And it's just like Spaceship Earth. It has to be, and it could be all, kind of sponsored by the Disney Institute or the Dino Institute, right? So we're still dealing with the Dino Institute, maybe, right? And but what I'm saying is, or maybe not, but it could be, but I want it to be kind of historical. I want it to be historically accurate. You can see dinosaurs, and imagine the young people, they really would love this. It's interesting. Dinosaurs are interesting, right? I love Spaceship Earth. I think it's one of the best attractions ever made, ever. So, but like having Spaceship Earth, bringing an attraction like this here would be awesome. So think about it. So, but yeah, let me see if I have did I draw a picture for that? Yeah, here it is. This is the Spaceship Earth / now, it's called the Age of Dinosaurs, but I don't know, it could be called anything, but it's a long, ultra high capacity attraction. We're going for high capacity, right? And you have, here we have a Triceratops and kind of Stegosaurus or Brontosaurus or whatever, Alaposaurus, I don't know, Allosaurus. But here you could have fake plants, you could have insects, you could have, giant cockroaches, flying, pterosaurs flying. You could, and the best part is that it can go up and down. So notice how here you see kind of the slow moving vehicle, the omnimover, going up, on a steep incline. And that's the kind of stuff that I want it to be able to, like when you go to Epcot, I love how it goes up and down. I love the altitude, the difference. It just gives it curves and up and downs and windings. It makes it more memorable, believe it or not. I feel like a lot of attractions today, they don't make use of that. There's too many flat attractions, and we want things that go up and down, hills. So I think you guys get the idea, right? So it's basically Spaceship Earth with dinosaurs, and it's a celebration of dinosaurs, right? And it fits in with Animal Kingdom, because you're seeing and experiencing the animals, and this is where you could get really detailed, right? Because outside you can't have these animatronics and these insects and the plants, but here you could have all this fake stuff. You could stuff it to the gill with plants. And of course there has to be a variety too, though. I don't just, you could have the rainforest, the swamp, you could have everything that this land doesn't have. Because some people would say, well, that dinosaurs, they need to be, they also lived in swamp areas. Yeah, so this is, and you could have it here. You could have all the different biomes here in this attraction and shown here. So that's that. Okay, that's Age of Dinosaurs. The next attraction would be, and this is something that I'm really big at, which is a trek, right? So just as I think they have at Animal Kingdom, they have these like walkthroughs, right? Where it's like a zoo. You walk around. Well, I want something like that. Okay, so here it is. You start here, and then it's just like a pathway. Now imagine if this pathway, there's not any trees, but there are like animals. You get to see, not animals, you get to see fake dinosaurs, but they're like statues. They don't have to move. Maybe their eyes can move or something, but really they have to be still so that people can take pictures with it, so people can admire the dinosaurs. But imagine if you're walking through a mile-long walk, where people see the dinosaurs. This is, young people would love this, right? They would love to be able to walk around. And basically it's the same thing that they have in Asia and Africa, right? Where you see the gorillas and all this, but you're seeing fake animals, but still, it's still interesting. Like it fits with the animal kingdom. Do you know what I mean? It fits with animal kingdom. And this, what we could have is that this attraction, let's say, right? You can walk through the volcano. Like imagine if you could not only walk, so it's basically, I know it looks like a mess right now, but what's happening is this is a very complex building, if you want to think of it. So the trek will be on top of the building, if that makes sense. And so you see how we're using space very efficiently, as opposed to here where there's a lot of open space that's not being used, right? Here we're walking on top of the buildings. And so, and because the space is really tight. And so there's an attraction where you get to just walk around on top of the building. Let me paint that a different color maybe. Okay, so maybe this is the trek, right? The trek is in yellow. You can go up and down hills, right? You can see dinosaurs, kind of dinosaur statues that look somewhat real. And then you walk into the volcano and you can maybe see little bits of the actual volcano ride, right? So how cool would it be to walk into it? People would be taking pictures, and then you walk back out and you're outside and okay, so do you see how this is a walking trek? A 1 mile, mile and a half, make it as long as you can, make it as elaborate as you can, just like Tom Sawyer Island. People, you're walking through caves, you're walking through, like people love this. If you gave them, people love to try, they love hiking. People literally pay to hike. So why not add that as part of the experience? It doesn't cost that much money to run. And yet it's such a great way to use space. And since the mountain is already built, why not build it, right? And I wish that Mount Everest, why don't they build a hiking trail on Mount Everest too, right? Like why not, right? Another thing too that I wanted to mention is how the volcano. So let me draw the volcano here for a minute. So imagine if the volcano, right, was designed in such a way that like let's say the volcano was climbable, basically. So what this trek would do is you would be able to climb the volcano, and you would climb alongside it and then come back down. And you would design it in such a way that if it rained, it's covered. Like you're outside, but like let's say this is the walkway, right? You're walking here, but the rock formations kind of cover it, so that if it rains, here, let me show this. So like let's say if it rains, there's always a place to kind of hide under the rock, if that makes sense, right? And so and that's what. Wouldn't it be cool? Because it rains a lot in Florida, so you don't want to be caught in the rain if you're up on this trek. And so you have to think about this. There has to be hiding places for when it rains. And so you need to be mindful when designing this that the drainage systems work, and that that there's places to that you could have it still be outside and still kind of you can have it be outside and still have it areas that are covered so that people can explore. So anyway, so I love that idea. I love walking through. People like hiking. The next idea, now these are kind of smaller ideas, but basically the next idea would be kind of a baby dino, what I call baby dino show. Like, wouldn't it be funny if there was a little show, and this is just like a little show, similar to how they have, those bird shows at Animal Kingdom. Well, you could have a baby, they're fake, baby little dinosaurs, and, you have the little eggs, and they hatch, and maybe, wouldn't it be fun if, like, for the young people, they would love to watch a show like this. This is more of an interactive show. So, with baby dinos, the baby dino cave, it's a little cave show, and I think it's a good idea to have something for the younger audiences. And then the last thing is the last dinosaur thing is the playground, right? So I would keep a playground, have it be, like I said, same theming, same thing, but it's basically a playground for, a playground for the younger audiences to play with. But imagine, let's set the scene here. You're walking through here. There's lots of mountains, lots of hills, and then of course we would keep the restaurant but you could even add a sit-down restaurant. Like maybe we could have a cool, Dino Institute 5-star restaurant. Like. Why not? Do you know what I mean? How cool would that be? Or maybe you could have a restaurant in the volcano. I don't know. Like the ideas. There's so many ideas that you could have. Like people would pay for an ultra fancy 5-star. Well, maybe not 5-star, but a fine dining experience inside a volcano. You know what I mean? Like just the possibilities. I want you to think big here. So the next. Yeah. So basically, as you can see, you're walking through here. It's going to be mountainous. There's going to be hiking trails. There's going to be a big volcano with pterosaurs flying around it. It's going to be a huge 200-foot tall volcano. There's lava flowing out of the volcano. So that's kind of cool. Imagine at night being able to see lava flowing, and it can be an active volcano. Like, how cool is that? And then you have the dinosaur ride, an improved dinosaur ride, and you have the dinosaur museum, right? And let's talk about the museum again, because I want the museum to be, I want it to have lots of dinosaurs, right? Like, we need a lot of dinos. I want it to be, the difference I guess is here there's the realistic dinosaurs, and then in the Dino Museum it can be a little more like a quieter place where, you know, you can look at dinosaur from a more scientific perspective. So I want to expand basically it's similar to, you know, the entrance for dinosaur. Well, basically just that, but a lot bigger. And I think I want it to feel like, just like the big museums around the world. You know, people pay to go to the Louvre, and I'm not sure why. You know, why can't they have a museum right here? Why can't they have it? And it would be right next to the dinosaur ride, so that it's the Dino Institute. So anyway, and then in the museum, you know, you could have like these skeletons, these big, huge skeletons, you know, just like you see in all kinds of museums, but like a lot of them, you know, so that people can feel like this is the premier dinosaur place. So that when young people come here, this is a hugely immersive dinosaur world, like literally unlike anywhere on the planet. And another thing I didn't talk about is here is the bridge. Let me talk about the bridge. So like I said, this would be a nighttime thing, and there would be a bridge that connects, Dinoland, or DinoWorld in this case, with Avatar, and then you can just exit the park from there. It's like a bridge pathway that connects these, and what this does is it allows DinoWorld to be open until midnight or until 1 a.m. Now, obviously, you can't have shows or fireworks because of the animals, but like I said, there's plenty to do here, and you could still have, and you can walk over to Avatar. And Avatar, they could put some more stuff in Avatar too. There's plenty of stuff they could do there. But like you can make it so that it's an all-day park where people can spend all day at Animal Kingdom. You know, currently it's not. They close early. But if they could leave Avatar and Dinosaur World open until midnight, you know, that would be pretty cool. And they could close down the you know, Asia and Africa because the animals are there. So what this does is, so anyway, I think it's a great idea. The last thing I wanted to talk about is Moana, right? So we talked about Moana, or I should say, originally they had a Moana idea actually when they originally announced this. But you know, I was thinking, what if, because there's a volcano, right? Now I know this is kind of stretching it, but I have this thing where I love to do two things at once, if you can get away with it. And how amazing, even though this dinosaur world concept is extraordinarily, I would say it's very detailed and has plenty to do, but it can stand on its own. But I love the idea of doing two things at once, because it's just efficient. If you notice the efficiency, notice how in the plans there are a lot of big attractions all close together, right? Notice how the use of space, right? We use elevation. I know it's going to be expensive. I don't know if they could afford to build this, to be honest with you, but whatever, we're thinking. But the thing is, notice how I make use of space in this concept, okay? With the volcano, with everything, with the attraction types, right? There's a variety of attractions. There's a mix of thrill and a mix of there's walking, there's something a little bit for everything. There's playgrounds, something for everyone. Now imagine if we had a Moana. So we talked about Moana. Moana, obviously, you know, Hawaii, volcanoes, right? And Maui is kind of isn't he like a volcano god, or what is he? I can't remember what kind of god he is, but he's a Hawaiian god. So a Hawaiian god can supposedly, right, might maybe still be around during a dinosaur age. So imagine if we had kind of a Moana like behind, and what we could do is kind of tucked away in a corner, we could have a Moana meet and greet. You know, maybe a little show even, right? Like Moana can come out and sing. And of course, it's not part of Dinoland specifically, but, you know, because Maui, you know, maybe it is a Hawaiian god, maybe Maui kind of has a little outpost behind this volcano, you know, and maybe this volcano will become Hawaii someday or something. I don't know, but you could have behind this, you can make it so that behind this volcano, kind of in the back of the volcano, so to speak, there will be a lava area, right? There's a bunch of lava, and then you could have a little stage show. You could have a Moana meet and greet. You can meet Maui and Moana, and then then you could have maybe a song show. You know, I was thinking a song show, but we'll see. Now, there's not enough space here to expand, you know, beyond kind of a meet and greet or a small area. But I was thinking if for future they could possibly expand, you know, to a Moana place here, maybe a Hawaii with a volcano there. Like, you know, that's another idea, but that would be another idea for another day. But I mean, I definitely do have ideas, you know, that could be, but for now there wouldn't be enough space here to build it. So it would just be kind of the Moana. Just Moana meet and greet, but I think it fits, in my view. I think it fits, and there's also the possibility of expansion here with Pacific Islands. You know, you could put another volcano here, or another volcano area. It doesn't have to be a volcano, but it could be like a lava area, and then you could have, you know, attractions here with Moana. But anyway, that's different. I mean, these are ideas, and let me see if there's anything else. So there's the Moana, there's that, and yeah, like how we've talked about, I hope this kind of makes sense. I think my descriptions probably are better than, you know, But this, I mean, this is what the outline looks like, I guess. And, you know, I hope my description kind of helps because it helps create or helps visualize what, you know, what I think Dinosaur World could have been, you know? Like Dinosaur World is, I don't know, it's a concept that I like because people love dinosaurs, especially young people, but even older people. Like, and there's really not that much dinosaur. Like, even though, like, yeah, Universal Studios has kind of the dinosaur place, but it's not really, I don't know, it's different. It doesn't feel like you're going back in time. It feels more like you're in a park with dinosaurs. But here, this would be a recreation. This would be a full-on immersive area with lots of high-capacity attractions. And let me show you, let's go over what we just went over so you can see it. So this is a list of all the attractions that I just talked about, right? Look at all these attractions. Look at all the things you can do, right? We have the Dinosaur, which is the current ride, an updated dinosaur ride. You have the Dinosaur Institute Museum, which I think would have the skeletons of dinosaurs. You have Dinosaur Close-Up 360, right? Where the dinos, their face, now this is literally their disembodied heads just popping up at you, or necks, I should say. And they, you know, just, there's something scary about having something big and enormous right next to you. You would have the prehistoric playground for the young people, baby dino cave, right? It's a little show with, you know, you could have like a curator or something, like a zoologist kind of pretending to, like, okay, everybody, here's a baby dinosaur. And you could even walk up to it and, I don't know, look at it. You know, it could be like a little show. You know, it's really for everybody, I guess, but it's kind of a smaller theater. Then you have the exploration trek. Okay, that's basically, you're walking around, and the idea I gave is you can walk into the, you can walk into the cave. You can go into caves. It's a long hike. The longer the better, to be honest with you. People love hiking. Give people something to do. People come to the theme parks to do something. Walk in, have them go into the volcano. You know, how awesome would that be? Age of Dinosaurs, the Omni Mover, right? That's an attraction, very long Spaceship Earth attraction with dinosaurs, with trees, with prehistoric trees, with prehistoric insects, with giant cockroaches, moving things. The Omni Mover goes up and down, just as, you know, just like Spaceship Earth. You have the Dino Institute volcano pods. That's kind of like the people mover. It moves. It's got the speed, and I think it's cool. You know, going into a volcano. Like, how cool would it be to go into a volcano? And it can be as long as possible. Again, you're providing value. Like, people really want to feel like they're getting their money's worth. So make these attractions, both of these, the Omni Mover and this volcano pods, can both be high capacity attractions, which they really need right now. You know, people don't want to be waiting 3 hours for attractions, and that's kind of what's happening right now, right? You shouldn't need lightning lanes to get into, you know, you need to, I mean, obviously there'll still be a part of it, but like, you shouldn't need to, or I should say, like, you shouldn't have to, like, we should make it as high capacity as possible, when possible. And then, of course, the pterosaur flight. Okay, that's on top of the volcano. You're flying around on a pterosaur. It's kind of scary. You have to take an elevator to go there. And then the Moana Maui meet and greet, right? And then that's basically kind of in the back of the volcano. There's still a volcanic area there, but again, it kind of fits. And it's also right next to the little lake area there, so that kind of fits with the ocean theme as well. And then, of course, and you know what's weird is that I thought of, and I didn't plan on this, but I thought of that restaurant. You know, how cool would it be to have a restaurant inside the volcano, like a nice fine dining restaurant at a volcano? I think people would pay for that, actually. You know, people really like fine dining. That would be a great option, to be honest with you. Like, just to be in a cool, it could be like a Dino Institute, you know, lunch, or no, not lunch, but like Dino Institute kind of banquet or something. You know, just like a interesting way to integrate, or to make it, you know, to make people excited to be part of the Dino Institute. I don't know, like, they could find a way to put it in to the storyline. But really, I think people would love, like, think of the optics of having a restaurant inside of the core of a volcano with magma and fire, and, you know, just to contrast it. And they can actually be there. You know, these are set pieces. Notice another thing, that I haven't noticed any screens, right? Like, everything is, you know, it's like Spaceship Earth. Everything is, they're props, they're set pieces. It's not virtual, right? It's not, there's no screens, right? The volcano pods, the volcano, it's not like a TV screen of a volcano. It's an actual, you know, we have flowing water, and I don't know how they would create the effect of magma. That would be interesting, but in other words, everything is a set piece. And it's real. It's there. It's a space, and because you're there, you're being transported there. And so notice how I didn't talk about any, you know, the virtual stuff. No TVs. No, like, everything is a prop. Everything is either a statue, like in the exploration trek, it's a statue, right? Because it could rain, or it's or in Spaceship Earth, right? The Age of Dinosaurs kind of Omni Mover. That's the dinosaur, right? That's the, you know, you have actual animatronics, insects that move, everything, and then you have the Dino Institute volcano pods. Actual active volcano. So if you are, you know, eating at a restaurant, like, how cool would it be to be inside of this rocky place eating this fine dining experience? And that gives an excuse for people to stay there until midnight, right? make it a late park. Have people stay there all day, right? So they're not all rushing in the morning to get in there. And then the Moana Maui meet and greet. Another fun way to add sort of a little bit of, I love it when a land can add more things to it. If you can find a way to kind of put two things together or more. And in this case, it kind of fits, right? Because Maui is, he's kind of a Hawaiian god, right? And you could, in theory, Maui could still be around during the dinosaur age maybe. But of course, he's not going to be in the dinosaur area, but just in this little corner, just he has, a little alcove for, and it's just a reason for us to include it. So anyway, this is my idea. I think I covered what I wanted to say. I mean, it turned out really nice. Like I said, this is a walkway that connects to, what is this called? I don't know I can't remember, the Oasis, I think it's what it's called. So this is a bridge that would be built. And like I said, the reason why is because they would close at night, they would close off the entrance to Discovery Island. So that, and then the other thing too, the other thing I wanted to mention was because of the dinoland, the Dino Institute, it gives us an excuse to also, you could have kind of a store. You could have a Dino Institute souvenir stores kind of in the middle, but they have to be kind of small. It would have to be here because this is more of a trail. But yeah, you definitely need some shopping. People would love to buy dinosaur stuff. You could even have like inside the volcano a dinosaur shop too. So you could have dinosaurs. So there are retail and merchandise opportunities as well as restaurants. Now the main restaurant would be this, the current what is it called? Restaurantosaurus or whatever it is. It's a sit down, right? It's like Cosmic Rays, I think. They've got burgers or whatever, but I don't know where it is. And then I just came up with the volcano sit down restaurant idea. And I'm trying to think if there's any other ideas. I don't know. Perhaps maybe the museum can have a little, dinosaur museum. Like maybe you could have a sit down restaurant there too, right? Like, dine with dinosaur bones, and have and you get to have some dinosaur expert can come talk to you about dinosaurs while you eat lunch, you know what I mean? Or dinner. That could work too, because museums, they often host, and this would be a great place to, conventions, right? Like imagine if you could have a little, not meeting space, but like a place where people could have events like parties, because the museum, people would love to have an event with skeletons. And that's what the Dino Institute Museum is a great opportunity to have people, with these big dinosaur, skeletons kind of hovering over you. How cool would it be to have, an event there? People love eating and when they're in kind of these spaces that are kind of unique, right? And so these are kind of the possibilities. I want you to think about the possibilities of what could be. So these are my ideas. We covered Encanto and how Encanto should be the Colombia Pavilion, right? And I think it's a great idea to have it there. I think it's better, to be honest with you. If you could have Encanto be here, and you could make it an e-ticket attraction. Shoot, if you wanted, or it could be here too. You could build the building here. It can be like Rise of the Resistance. It can be as big as that, because I think it would work with a Rise of the Resistance type ride would work so well with Mirabelle and the special powers that they all have. It would work really well. But if they wanted to do an Omni Mover, they could also do that too. I don't know. The Encanto, I'm not really too detailed on the Encanto. They can just pretty much do whatever as long as it's colorful. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think Encanto would work well. It would be a Colombia Pavilion. It would be, I think, it could have a restaurant too. It could have a Colombian restaurant. They have big plates of Colombian restaurant. Like people would really love, even if it was just like a quick service. But people would really, I think it would be really popular. It would be a hit. And like I said, there's Colombian and Venezuelans living in Florida, so it would be a hit. Like I think a bigger hit than Coco, because Coco is more sort of a Mexican American, and California is more Mexican American, and so there's a demographic difference there. And then we talked about that. We talked about Colombia. We talked about the Colombia Pavilion, the Encanto in Colombia, and then we talked about this dinosaur world. I guess what I called. Maybe we should call it DinoWorld. I'll just call it DinoWorld. Okay, so DinoWorld, which is basically and then featuring Moana. Moana can be kind of on the side here. And then this would turn the Animal Kingdom into a full-day park. And, but yeah, so what do you all think about this? These are some ideas that I had. And I hope, I hope you, what do you all think? If you can like and subscribe. And, this is just something that I kind of just wanted to throw out there. I don't know. I know that, just for old time's sake, I guess I really like the dinosaurs, and I think a lot of people did. But we'll see. Obviously, whatever happens. But I wanted to just put this out there. So, just some ideas that I've had, and so I love it. I think it would work great. But even if it doesn't happen or whatever, like the thing is, a lot of the concepts and a lot of the ideas, a lot of the sort of a lot of the principles that I talk about, in terms of putting things together closely, in terms of combining things, in terms of having two things, if you can combine them, like if you could have Moana, see Moana's volcano, dinosaur volcano, like they both work kind of. If you could have attractions that are huge buildings that kind of interconnect with each other, if possible. If you could have, this in this case it works just because the dinosaur attraction is so good. It's a very well built attraction. I really think I love the Dino Institute, and that's why in this case, I don't think this is always necessary or possible, but in this case, it really works that we can use the Dino Institute as a concept, right? That we can use it and it's able to that we can use it and integrate it into all the rides. It just so happens that it is, and I just feel like the dinosaur world, the Dino World, and even the current Dinoland USA, a lot of the concepts they can still be used, and I think it would still be relevant. Like people love dinosaurs. People love dinosaurs. And the other thing too is, as far as Encanto, like I said, Encanto would go, in my idea, would go to Epcot, and then Indiana Jones, you could have, I have ideas for Indiana Jones. I wouldn't bring the Indiana Jones Adventure from Disneyland because we don't need it, but you could have another type of attraction, and it could probably go somewhere else. I don't know, maybe next to Hollywood Studios, right? Like, but that would be another topic. But what I'm saying is that, I definitely think, Indiana Jones would be a cool idea, but I think it would probably be better somewhere else. So anyway, I don't know, should I talk more about Indiana Jones or, I think I talked about it enough. It just seems like I said, I'll just reiterate what I said at the beginning with, when we had the, it just seems like it's not as immersive, I guess. Like, I feel like I love the immersion, and there's something about the design, right? Like, I like it for what it is, right? But the Indiana Jones Adventure is not really immersive in that sense. It feels like a stage show. It feels like it doesn't feel like I'm actually there. It feels like and it's cool for what it is, right? Like, there are some cool effects, but it feels different. And so, I don't know, it's a little different from this idea, which is a little more realistic. I'm kind of going more for a realistic vibe, whereas the Indiana Jones Adventure is a little more, it's a little more stylized, if you want to put it that way. It's more like, because there's like neon colors, they have light effects. A real temple wouldn't have that. Do you know what I mean? So, but I don't know, it's its own thing. Like I said, it's one of the best rides ever made. Indiana Jones Adventure is one of the best rides ever made, but it's, it's different. You know what I mean? Like in this case, I went for a different approach, kind of a more realistic approach. And I still think the current dinosaur ride is great. And like I said, I prefer it over, but what I'm saying is, if they were to add an Indiana Jones, it could be somewhere else. So, but anyway, this is my idea, and thank you all for being here.